Welcome, Diana, to the Thank Goddess podcast. I'm very excited to have you joining us and to be sharing all of your wisdom, which I know you have because you've been teaching for a long time. And before we kind of dive into all of your teachings, I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey because what I've understood when I was looking into you and doing a bit of research, that you started off your career as a lawyer in South Africa before transitioning into Tantra and teaching about mindful sex. And they're so polar opposites. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that transition for you and, yeah, what sparked it.
Cheers, Danielle. It's so nice to be invited. That's really sweet of you, and a pleasure to have this hour together or so. Like many things in people's lives, it's organic, right? So I grew up in apartheid South Africa. So that was a particular situation. And because of 90% of the population was underprivileged, and I was the privileged white 10%, I really wanted to do something with my life that could help other people and the less privileged. So that was actually my motivation. Also, I didn't want to be dependent on a man financially. And so I thought, okay, you just go for that kind of a job. And, it was really interesting and everything. But actually, when I got into the courts, it was just like, no, 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 this is not me.
Mm.
Partly because of the prejudice there, the people make, I just realized justice and truth have got nothing to do with each other, because of the prejudice and the people making decisions were prejudiced. Um, so I decided, essentially it was, I don't want a life of the mind and being tricky. I want a life of my hands and the heart.
Mm.
Because I had been doing spontaneously, intuitively massage since I was a kid on members of my family. So I dropped the law, or in a way, it's another story. The law dropped me, which was good. And then I went to the UK and got invited. I wanted to study massage, but then I got like invited into a place where they trained me and so on. And so I was a body worker for a long time. Love massage, still crazy about massage. It's really like my best friend. And that interest, and I taught massage for a long time, and that interest in the body kind
Mm.
of like was like a bridge.
Mm.
You're interested in the body, you're interested in sex. I was interested in my own life, never had any idea it would evolve to the situation. Um, so when I was like early 30s, so maybe a bit younger than you, then I started
Mhm.
exploring. So that's why I was curious, because the earlier one can start,
Mm.
the better. At the same time, it's never too late to start.
Mm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Because I had a couple in one of my courses a long time, quite a while ago. She was 78 and he was 80,
Yeah, wow.
and they just had so much benefit. So, but if you're young, it's really good to do something with this foundational aspect of being in a body, right?
Mm.
Um, so I heard Barry Long tapes. You've probably heard of Barry Long, Australian
Mm.
master.
Mhm.
He did these making love tapes early 1980s, and I listened to them. And then I kind of ignored them. And then also the spiritual master Osho, he says quite a bit about Tantra, and I would read that and go like, well, that sounds amazing, but how do I do it with the genitals? And Barry Long was very, very genital specific. So then I just listened to his tapes, made love a lot. And slowly, slowly just got into it and saw how it impacted my life. And, um, you know, so on so many levels. And I happened to be living in India at the time in a commune, and people they noticed I wasn't at the parties, and they were like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, actually, I'm in bed a lot, right?" And but so slowly people came to ask me about their sex lives and so on, and I found I could answer very quickly. And somehow, already being like a body worker teacher, it was easy. Penis and vagina, hands and trapezius. It's the same for
Mm.
me. And so that kind of evolved into, excuse me, deciding to write a book. But it was for myself. Like, can I, through words, convey, this is what happens on the
Mm.
inside. And then I'd also decided to do a course. So this is how it happened. And then slowly, slowly, It's now like 30 years ago. Slowly, it kind of evolved into a situation where, I'm talking
Yeah.
with you and yeah, yeah,
Wow. I love that. And I had a guest recently who spoke about following the breadcrumbs and just following what you're interested in, what you're passionate about. It kind of sounds like a similar journey for you, where you just followed the next thing, the body work, and then it just rolled.
exactly.
Yeah. So I love that. And I hear that from a lot of people. So it seems like that you follow the next step. It's not about seeing the long-term vision, but just what's the next thing? What am I interested? What am I curious about? And kind of entertaining that and see where it leads.
Absolutely, I can endorse that. And, I am aware of how many people also in my sphere never chose to do what they're doing,
Mm.
you know, but it's what life, like life put me here. Like, okay, thank you. Um, so yeah, definitely I do find that as the world gets more kind of complex and so many options, these goals that people have do get in the way. That's
Mm.
understandable, but it's really like, I like this expression, I've never heard it before, follow the breadcrumbs. It's just
Mm.
like nibble here, nibble there, and then things open up. But life is getting more complex,
Mm.
but it's still the best advice.
Mm. Beautiful. And so let's talk a little bit about we'll dive into all your teachings, but before we do that, let's kind of give the audience a bit of a context as to what we can deem as conventional sex, or because probably some people are thinking, well, there's only one way to have sex, right? Because that's the conditioning I think so many of us receive in the Western world. I mean, I only kind of started opening to this the past few years, really. That's when the seed was planted that maybe there's another way. So I'd love to hear a little bit about what we have been conditioned to believe about sex, particularly in the Western world, because most of my listeners are from Western countries. And I've heard you refer to it as goal oriented sex. And I guess some of the issues that you see derive from this.
Yeah, I mean, basically all of us, and also in the Eastern countries as well, is we are very imprinted and conditioned in sex. That's absolutely the word conditioning. The thing is, it happens to us unconsciously. We're not saying, oh, that's how I want to have sex, but it's from the atmosphere, what we see in movies and everything like this. And so we imitate. And yeah, so most of us, I was the same. So what I can say is like my exploration was like a deconditioning, like unlearning all the things that I had thought were true.
Mm,
And so goal-oriented means that the reason you have sex is to have an orgasm. So orgasm per se, or ejaculation per se, there's nothing wrong in that. But the point is that we think that that is the central piece of sex.
mm,
And that's the problem. So when we start in sex, we are oriented on that end result. So it's not like you're thinking about it constantly, but what we are doing is building up intensity, building up excitement, building up sensation, because that's what gets us there.
mm,
Okay. And so we have this belief that sex needs to be hot and intense, and which is obvious, it works. It brings
mm,
us usually to that peak.
mm,
So the problem is that we're always a little bit ahead of ourselves. We're not really here. And it's not like I'm thinking always of my goal, but I'm interested, me as a woman, I noticed, oh, I'm interested in the next penetration, not this one.
mm,
Not like how does the penis feel in this moment? It's just like the next one, the next one, the next one. So essentially, this goal orientation has put us in the future. Now, it can be milliseconds, but you're still ahead.
mm,
And that has created quite a substantially significant amount of absence.
mm,
So that is the issue. Not a little intensity now and then, not a little peak and discharge now and then, but we are not really with what is happening in the body now.
mm,
So that is basically the shift
mhm,
that one has to let go of the goal. And that's a process. It's not like from one day to the next, you're going to stop coming.
Mm,
You know, you've got to unlearn that pattern. And just to say, it's not about not coming, but it's definitely about extending
mm,
the lovemaking. Because what happens is, you know, with this intensity and the heat, men ejaculate very prematurely. And now premature ejaculation is a big problem, right?
mm,
And the main problem with that is the sex act is too short, right?
mm,
We need to extend the sex act. And the problem really is this belief in intensity and heat. But
mm,
that does disempower a man. So, the way I'm involved in the whole thing is like just really suggesting to people to reduce the sexual temperature, to
mm,
cool down a little bit. And then we can extend the lovemaking. If you want to come later, after a couple of hours, fine. But let's dance a little bit. Let's play a
mm,
little bit. Um, because basically people are not having enough sex,
mm,
or shall we say, nourishing sex, that fulfilling sex. The pattern is, especially with men, you come, you have sex, few minutes. I mean, worldwide standard is 3, 4 minutes, right?
mm,
So even 20 minutes is a little bit short. 40 minutes, okay, now that's beginning to get interesting, but can we do it longer? It's so, the whole thing is just to come down to ground and take it more moment by moment. And of course, um, what comes up immediately then is man's loss of erection.
mm,
So this is what is driving the whole speed of the sex act. Man gets excited. He's afraid of losing his erection. A woman is afraid of him losing his erection. So she's like lets him in immediately, even if she's not ready, which is something I'm sure we're going to talk about.
mm,
Um, so there's just a lot of fear about erection and loss of erection because very sadly in our society, or men themselves, they evaluate themselves as a man according to their erection and their erection capacity.
mm,
So this is why this desperate thing, as soon as I've got the erection, let's keep it, let's get in there, right?
mm,
Um, so look, it's a big shift, and but honestly, it is so much more fulfilling because, I'm jumping all over the place now because
mm,
um, if erection goes down, it will come back. Usually it will come back, but it comes back on a different level. It comes back through presence and love and being there. Um, and there's also, what I propose, and it sounds, quite boring,
mm,
if because of this thing that in conventional sex, you can't make love without erection, right?
mhm,
That's also the other thing, like I want to have sex, I've got to get my tool, my instrument ready.
mhm,
Um, but with the relaxed entry, that means putting the penis in his relaxed state into the vagina. This is totally valid.
mm,
Totally valid. Okay, it's going to be different, but you are united, and it's a matter of uh, developing the sensitivity that you can start to feel as subtle things happening between the penis and the vagina in the present moment that are not based on building up intensity and sensation. And also, it does happen when you're not thinking about it that sometimes the penis will just start to rise inside the vagina.
mm,
If the woman and the man are like just totally present, relaxed, then this magnetic phenomenon starts, and erection can happen inside the vagina, which is awesome. And so it's just like the opposite of
mm,
of what we have received unconsciously. We didn't choose what we got, and there's nothing wrong in it. So it's not wrong. It's just more. It's where we are. And
mm,
people sometimes, when I'm teaching people that, oh, now that's wrong. No, 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 no. It's not wrong. It's where we are.
mm,
And so it's just a matter of bringing one thing in, which is awareness, which is, called mindfulness these days.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I prefer the word awareness
Mm-hmm.
because mindfulness is like still
In the mind.
a little bit mindy. Um, but starting to bring more awareness into your lovemaking and slowly noticing the patterns and stepping away from them. It's a slow process,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so enriching
Mm.
because you actually change as a person. Um, so in my view, it is the most deep work you can do on yourself.
Mm.
Um, there's so much available these days in terms of personal transformation and so on. It's awesome, and more things. People are channeling all kind of like wild and wonderful things, right? But we are not really looking what's between our legs and what are we doing there?
Mm.
And it's so close, we're so identified with it, but we are
Mm.
so removed from the
Mm.
potential. So when you start to play in this, is like the foundation. When you start to play in that foundation, and then the whole structure above changes,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So it's, in my opinion, which is just mine, but also what I see, I've told, you know, thousands and thousands of couples over the last 30 years, it changes your life, right? It really changes you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it's the deepest you can reach into yourself. That's it, because
Mm.
it is the basis. And it's fun, it's fascinating. It does need curiosity. It needs also a little bit of courage, meaning, am I prepared to drop my routine?
Mm-hmm.
Am I prepared not to know anything? Am I prepared to feel insecure? Well, it's all fun, there's nothing lost. Um, And it's not a technique. I know that a lot of people who work in the sexual field are working with techniques and so on, but it's no technique. We don't teach any technique. All we teach is awareness and start to observe when you move more into like the excitement and the heat and you drop back and come back more into your body. So of course, in my courses, I'm definitely teaching a lot of like how to be more in the body because
Mm.
that's another problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that as a humanity, we're not so in our bodies. We're not very embodied. So that is how you start to, anchor yourself more in the body. So there I teach lots of what I call love keys. Um, but and the thing is that couples are just much happier.
Mm.
And that's the thing, you know. Men, it's a little bit more difficult because they on this performance thing and intensity thing. So it's a little step down. But so many men have said, oh my God, I didn't know anything like this existed. And if this was actually your starting point,
Mm.
was like, um, we don't know there's anything else,
Yeah.
right? So that's my little rave.
Mm. Oh my gosh, there's so much to unpack,
I
and
know,
I
unpack this. Sorry about it.
no, I love it. I love it. Oh, where do I want to start? So you mentioned a bit about the male wounding around how a lot of men, and I think this is important for women to hear that they really, I suppose, see their masculinity in their erection. And that kind of explains why it's so important that sex can seem so important to men. And there's a big wound, I think, within women around feeling like that's all a man wants from a woman. And could you speak a little bit about the wounding within a lot of women within the collective of women around sex, and how this wounding in the male and the female is really, I suppose, disconnecting us and inhabiting us from having this true connection, this real intimacy that I think so many couples are craving for.
Well, that's a big question. Look, I would say, generally speaking,
Mm,
conventional sex is wounding because with men, they have this tremendous performance pressure, that they've got to keep the erection, boom, 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 boom. That totally disconnects them from what they're feeling in the moment.
mm,
And if they have erection problems, which many men do, and it's happening to, younger and younger men because of pornography and overstimulating the body. So if a man has premature ejaculation problems or erection problems, um, he has a lot of self-doubt. He doesn't feel like a man, and that is like so sad to base our feeling of ourselves on if we can get erections and if we can last or if we premature ejaculate. So men are definitely wounded. Um, and through my teaching, um, it's one of the main thing men are grateful for is that they don't have to produce anything, especially they don't have to make their woman come. They
mm,
don't have to hold back, you know. So just by reducing the sexual temperature, there's less pressure to perform. So as women, we are supporting man indirectly. We are supporting his performance because we realize we can sense, what a big thing it is for a man. And so what we've developed is this pattern to please. Because all a woman wants is love in her life. And she just like wants this guy to love her. So if he's got the erection he wants to get in, she'll let him in, generally speaking. But um, so what women do, and this is something we will be talking about, I'm sure, is like the women's body opens more slowly than man's body, right?
mhm,
So, and that's a reality. It's not a psychological thing. It's just a magnetic thing, right? Um, so woman is letting man into herself before she's really ready to receive.
mm,
And I know that for myself, and having told thousands of women who would like to have more time before the man goes in, every woman will almost will put up the
mm,
hand because we know it. So we have this knowing, but we don't trust our bodies, and also we're afraid to speak out. Because the last thing you want to do to a man is make him think that he's doing something wrong, because men very easily get knocked off.
mm,
Everybody wants to be the best lover that a woman ever had, kind of thing, no? Um, so women are afraid to say, hey, slow down, or hey, I need more time, because that just destabilizes a man. Um, but it is the starting point, because one of the things about sex and is a lot of women have pain during sex, right?
mm,
Either from when they first start having sex, and or it can develop later in their lives. And so women are also overriding pain.
mm,
And this pain can be healed through more conscious sex. So when a woman, many women come to me who have pain, and within 3 days of being in my workshops and so on, and men being more conscious and not pushing over the pain, women reporting the pain, man stopping, holding the penis there, just pulling back a little bit. This pain can be dissolved, or tensions or old feelings can be liberated.
mm,
And because often pain has like a little emotional component behind it. So with women, we are constantly crossing our boundaries. We fake orgasm. Well, many women do, but why do you do that, right?
mm,
Or we very quickly we know to build up the heat. Then a man comes, then the sex is over,
mm,
right? And so it's a matter of women finding her place, giving herself time, because if a woman has pain, or she's letting a man in before she's really ready, it kind of man's vitality, man's energy, his sexual energy, the energy emanating intrinsically from his penis has got nowhere to go.
mm,
You know what I mean? Because the vagina is not receptive.
mm,
And so what we need to do as women is to cultivate more receptive vaginas, which, sounds weird because, you know, but I have to say that receptive does not mean passive, right? So that's
mm,
really important. Receptive is a force. So, like magnetically speaking, how we are created in nature is that if you look at the penis, he's a channel for energy. And not this. Do you know what I mean? Okay, friction, that
Mm,
creates sensation. But intrinsically, if a man is anchored in the penis, especially the perineum, he can in time and also with the help of visualization, which is use visualization to open channels that exist in the penis. And women starts to relax the vagina, then her vagina becomes capable of receiving the male energy. And that's where the magic starts, you see.
mm,
Um, so women, we have great fear that our vaginas are too loose if we've had babies and so on, or so we sometimes consciously holding the vagina tight
mm,
because we have a friction-based, intensity-based, sensation-based idea of sex. So we consciously hold it tight. We sometimes do little squeezes.
mm.
Doesn't feel particularly interesting, but we do it because we think it interests the penis, right? And unconsciously also we are holding the vagina tight because if a man is thrusting very aggressively or very hard, it hurts the cervix, right? Which is, up at the top. So we protect that because it really is sore. So there's a lot of things happening that is blocking our receptivity. So this is the big shift to shift from pleasing man to start to speak for your needs,
Mm,
not in a blaming way, not in a charged way, but just that you need more time, to relax, to be more, kiss and cuddle and massage, or just have time to warm up. Um, so women carries this wound of like again and again, man coming into her, she's not ready. Then women loses interest in sex, and that's the problem, you see, because
mm,
that's classic. Most women after a while, lose interest in sex. And we all know, look, some people who've been heavily traumatized, that can be a reason.
mm,
Okay, so I'm not talking about that. That's a different issue, although conscious sex can heal that.
mhm,
But in general, when we meet a man, we're totally into sex and everything is flowing and juicy and pa 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 pa. Um, it's in the hot direction, tends to be. Um, but after a while, and it's nothing a woman ever wants, right? And
mm,
it's not coming from the psychology, it's just slowly, slowly, the interest goes down. The
mm,
body starts to close. And we all know it. We know it.
mm,
Um, then women starts to have sex as duty or under pressure. And then so that's totally unhelpful. Um, so when women is given more time, the body loves to make love. It just needs to be understood
mm,
as like actually, because man and woman, we equal, but we are opposite. So
mm,
this is the foundation of Tantra. Man and woman are equal forces, but opposite forces.
mm,
And these two forces complement each other and they work together. So they're designed by nature to work as one, right?
mm,
And I'm talking very specifically penis and vagina. Um, so if we can start to align ourselves a little bit more in this direction, we can really change the quality of our love, the quality of the relationship, and many things do get healed. And
mm,
it's not like you're going in there to be healed. Healing happens.
mm,
It's a byproduct of awareness.
mm,
So it is amazing how much can be. Yeah, healed is the word. Or
mm,
people can feel more integrated and whole um, through bringing some elemental changes, foundational changes into the sexual exchange. Um, so yeah,
So, could you speak a little bit to that healing process, or maybe some stories or what you've seen, your transformations with your clients in regards to that healing? I'm curious to hear a little bit more about how conscious sex can heal us, particularly these wounds that men and women are facing.
well, I can't say how it does it. I'm saying
Mm,
it does it.
mm,
It's a magic. It's an alchemy. awareness is a healing force,
mm,
and awareness pushes up the past, and
mm,
it's just a reality. So right in the beginning, certainly for myself, so I'm only teaching people the kind of journey I went on is the first thing we say to people, let the tears flow. If you feel sad, let them flow. Allow your feelings, right?
mm,
Because we have unexpressed feelings around the whole sexual thing. And, when those start to move, this is healing happening. So it's not like you're going, okay, I'm going to heal, but healing happens. And and also people with heavy traumas, and men as well as women, that there is a lot of integration that happens through being more present in the genitals, and this understanding, and not only an understanding, but just it's a reality that awareness will heal you. Now, how that happens, I don't know, but just thank God.
mm.
Um, and awareness will displace the past. So that's why when things do come up, to let them through. Um, Now for women, that's easier, especially on the feeling side, to let feelings show. For men, we highly recommend it because, you know, a man, it's tough to be a man.
Mm,
He's really had to like armor himself against his sensitivity because, you know, a little boy, if he starts crying, what's the first thing he says?
mm,
He's told, don't be like a girl.
mm,
So there's this desperate attempt not to be like a girl because she's weak and cries all the time. So man is often, got this shield around where underneath are feelings of self-doubt, sensitivity, sadness. Um, so look, I can't give you individual stories. I've been teaching 15,000 couples. Um, but amazing things are liberated from the tissues of the penis and the vagina when the penis is more conscious inside woman. Because the penis, he's like a highly sensitive magnet, and he is like a catalyst, and he will liberate from the vagina um, past tensions, past injuries, and so on. So while I'm talking about that, is like that's why it's very important if woman has pain that she reports it to man, because pain is often a story.
mm.
So pain is often I think I've already said it, but often there's an unexpressed feeling
Yeah.
behind pain, right? Um, so whenever a woman feels pain, she must tell her man because that's a window into her past. You don't have to understand what it is. It's not an analysis. It's something that is happening. Um, and then woman reports the pain, man pulls back a hairbreadth and just waits. And there is this alchemy between this magnetic head of the penis and the disturbances that lying in the tissues of the vagina, because a lot of, if we've had sexual abuse and so on, we can work it out to a certain degree with therapy and that kind of a thing. Um, but the ultimate, excuse me, the remnants remain on a cellular level. So we've got cellular memories, right?
Mm,
So yes, this penis is just amazing. He can liberate these cellular memories from a woman and help to purify a woman, let go of her past, and in so doing, himself becomes purified.
mm,
So like, how does it happen? I don't know, but it happens.
mm,
And so this is what we call a reciprocal process of purification. So that's why man, when he's inside woman, he might have tears or he might feel pains in the vagina, not in the penis. Often the penis can perceive places in the vagina that are unhappy, you know,
mm,
a bit numb or a bit painful or out of reach or whatever. So this is what we really don't realize, that sex is just so powerfully healing, but the way we use it is quite destructive.
mm,
No?
mm,
And yeah. So look, we are going into a lot of things, and I think for listeners, it could be helpful to, read some of my material,
Mm,
audiobooks or written books and so on, and just to get more of an idea. But there's certainly um, real simple things that can be done as not complicated. What is complicated more is our minds,
yeah.
right? And our mind is pushing our body to do all kind of things. It's not the body saying, hey, this is what I want. It's no, no, no. The
Mm,
mind is pushing the body. So it's a little bit to give back the intelligence
mm,
to the body.
yeah, that's so beautiful what you share. I love how it's kind of reciprocal between men and women, and yeah, it's just such a different frame of mind than the conditioning we receive. And even for me, I know something I've struggled with a lot, and I've had to really deconditioning is a lot of religious trauma around shame around sex. And so that's like even another layer. And I think now these days, I'm really reframing sex to, as you say, bringing that consciousness, that awareness to it. And it's something that can bring you closer to yourself or to God, if you will, or whatever it is that you believe. And yeah, I just love what you share because I think it's healing on so many layers, this approach. Mm,
Yeah, beautiful. And it's really true that this religious thing has done a lot of damage to us in the sexual sphere. No?
mm,
But and also if one has had sexual trauma, that sex itself can be healing. So if
mm,
you've had sexual abuse, you've been damaged through sex. Sex per se can heal you.
mm,
So one could say like an unconscious penis can do a lot of damage, but a conscious penis can do amazing things, right?
mm.
So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, wow. And so we kind of mentioned it before when you were speaking, but I love one of the things I love about your work is when you really speak to the differences between the male and female biology. And I think this is something that a lot of people don't understand is how the woman's body takes longer to be ready, generally speaking, for sex. So, could you speak to the natural pacing of the feminine body and how that differs? And yeah, just how does the feminine body actually open?
Excellent question. Well, one of the central things is our misunderstanding that the clitoris is the center of female sexuality. Now, the clitoris is not. She creates excitement and everything, but most of us women know she makes us a little bit hungry, a little bit demanding. If the clitoris is stimulated quite a bit before penetration, right? And the actual center of female sexuality or the women's body opens through the breasts,
Mm,
not through the clitoris. Because when the breasts are engaged, it's like a magnetic setup we have in our bodies. But the breasts are the energy raising pole. And we can see that, the life-giving pole. And so in a woman's body, her energy, sexual energy, is raised and opened through the breasts. And I'm not talking about, radio dial, the nipples, that also makes excited. Um, but really for a woman to kind of like enter the breasts and, melt and merge and become connected with the breasts, then her body opens very deeply. And it also opens the vagina. And this is why she needs time. That she can be more with the breasts, the men can hold the breasts. It's not like now he has to do something. That's why I say it's not about stimulating, but for women really to start to anchor themselves in their breasts more because many women don't like their breasts.
mm,
So that disconnects them. Many women have been badly treated in their breasts by men, or, that disconnects them. Many women have had a lot of breastfeeding that's made them hypersensitive. Injuries, pains, heartbreaks. We've all had 101 heartbreaks, right? And so all this is sitting in the heart and the chest area.
mm,
And the breast is the access point to the heart in women's body. And So we need to become more like polarized, like men, his energy raising pole is the penis,
Mm,
but actually the perineum. Perineum, so it's not the head. The head is very sensitive, of course. Men tend to focus there. But actually, if you want to connect with him as a channel for energy, you come to the perineum because you've probably done it. You feel a man's penis down, down, down. It ends up in the perineum, which is just in front of the anus, which is like perineum's kind of the center of the pelvic floor. Um, so men's energy raising pole is downstairs, right? So he's ready relatively quickly. Not all men are ready relatively quickly. It's just we say these things generally, but
mm,
it's not 1,000% true because some men do struggle. Um, and for women, generally speaking, um, well, her body opens via the breasts, and because it's in the upper half of the body, it just needs longer for this magnetic um, well, this opening here to extend down into the vagina. And when that happens, she really becomes receptive and she can then receive male energy. And that is like for a man, that is like such a moving experience when he feels his energy is moving, intrinsically. It's not something you're doing, it's happening.
mm,
And then you go like, wow, now I feel more like a man. Do you know what I'm
mm,
saying? It's
mm,
not fulfilling fantasies or uh, I want it this way, that way, but it's just like, wow, this is me.
mm,
And even a woman can experience almost like a man touching her heart with the penis. So this shift to you know I don't like to use the word ignore, but I would say just leave the clitoris alone if possible. As a man, don't fiddle with the clitoris. Um, because that, like I said, creates excitement and you go in the hot intense direction.
mm,
um Women be less interested in the clitoris, and this is again shifting. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's worth experimenting.
mm,
When I say shifting, is little shifts. um it's just really to say that I'm not against the clitoris. Some people say, oh, yeah, with Diana, yeah, you can't do this, you can't do that. Is really not true. It's a matter of sequencing. I'm
mm,
not speaking against the clitoris. I'm speaking for the vagina
mm,
because this is the intelligence that we've lost. This is the understanding we've lost, penis and vagina. That's why oral sex has become so important. The clitoris has become so important that it's outside the body.
mm,
Actually, what we have is this complementary connection between an organ that flows with energy and one that absorbs energy, right?
mm,
So what I say, like in my classes and so on, um, if you're interested, do that at the end.
mm,
Do that at the end, but don't make it a starting point.
mm,
Rather let the woman's body open, boom, 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 kiss, cuddle, man's erection might go down. Well, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Many men have experienced that the erection will return with love and presence. And in my groups, honestly, whenever I talk about this, I say, which men can confirm that? And 90% of men will say they know that.
mm,
No? But we have to give ourselves space for that, right?
mm,
Um, and like I said previously, if erection goes down, well, you can put him in his relaxed state, or you can gently massage him, but not excite him. You don't want an excited penis.
mm.
Um, You want like a awake penis. So that is the big shift, is to understand how our bodies open
Mm.
differently. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's really transformational knowledge, I think, because we don't get taught this. This is not what we get fed in sex education. No one's really passing this information down unless you go look for it. And it explains why so many couples struggle with intimacy when it's almost like, we haven't really been given the roadmap to like the way that our biology kind of really thrives.
Yeah, and that is so true, and that is the biggest sadness.
Mm,
No, that's something that is so close to us. We get educated in all kinds of stuff
mm,
that's non-essential, but the essential we're not educated in. And so that is something that really could change, is that sex education really starts at a much younger, we're not educated at all, maybe a bit of
mm,
biology and so on, but it's
mm.
always in conventional terms, sex. So yeah, that would be
Yeah.
awesome if we could change that.
Yeah. And is that something that you hold a vision for? Like if, in an ideal world, is there, I don't know, if this teaching were to reach more couples and we changed our understanding of sex or how we had sex, and I don't know, how do you think that would ripple out in other areas of life or within relationships, within families?
Well, that is really a beautiful question because actually, if we look at our society, it's such a mess and there are no mass solutions. There's nothing we can do globally. It's
Mm,
just gone too far. But as individuals, we can do something. And it's like from the individual, things can radiate out.
mm,
So if individually couples, you know, millions of couples did something individually on this level, it would really impact
mm,
the planet. And we, like again and again, we get couples saying to us, because I I teach with my partner, excuse me, um, this is peace work that you're doing.
mm,
And you go, oh, like, right, because it does make peace. It makes love. And that definitely impacts the family
mm,
because so many families are struggling because of unhappiness. And that when parents are unhappy, that the children are like hyper alert to that. Then they get very like disturbed and demanding because all they want is love. They
mm,
don't feel the love between the parents. So when love is restored between the parents, it definitely ripples down into the children
mm,
and ripples outwards,
mm,
into the society. And it just it just changes your life.
mm.
Um, and I've heard that again. Look, I can say my life changed totally. I mean, look, I'm sitting here like I never expected that. Um, but again and again, my whole life changes, people say. So suddenly your whole relationship to yourself changes, your partner, how you work, how you walk, how you present yourself. And yeah, it definitely does ripple out. So yeah, vision, I'm all for it. I'm all for
Mm,
it.
I love it. I love it. What did you call it? A peacemaker?
Yes, exactly.
Peacemaker. Yeah, I
Peace
love
worker,
that.
right.
Peace worker. Yeah. And I totally agree with that because I really believe the way that we create change, it's not one person's going to go out there and change the whole world, but it's like what can we do right now within myself, within my relationship, with my friends, with my community. And that's when the ripple effect starts to occur. So I love everything you've shared there. Oh, this has
Oh,
been
wonderful, Maggie.
amazing.
Oh, so
Um,
sweet. It's been a joy to talk to you.
Yes, you as well. I've got one last question to ask you, and this is something I ask all my guests on the podcast. So, as you're on the Thank Goddess podcast, this podcast is about awakening goddess consciousness within ourselves and the world at large. And the way that I explain it is really about, so much of what we spoke about, like coming into the body, getting out of the mind, more embodiment, listening to our hearts, leading from our intuition, being more present, being more aware. So my final question is, when do you feel most aligned with the goddess or goddess consciousness?
All day. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a person, I don't know. I can't really answer that question, but I do feel lovely every day. The more I'm in my body,
Mm,
the more I'm in my breasts,
mm.
the more I'm in my heart. Um, so I do try and do it all day.
Yeah, love it. Amazing. You're just a walking embodiment. And you look like a
You
goddess as well.
oh, so do you, darling. Um, Yeah, I think the main thing is that when you have a sense of yourself from the inside out, you accessing that quality.
Mm,
So, during my day, I'm not saying like I'm in a hyper aware state the whole time, but I'm constantly monitoring my body.
mm, mm,
Coming back, thinking body, how am I sitting? How am I standing? I'm very onto body posture, and how that affects your moment. So my whole thing is the body is the bridge to the present.
mm.
The body is the bridge to the being. And in the being lies a source of love within each one of us.
Oh, I love that.
So, so it's not a big deal. You just keep coming back to your body, keep coming back to your body. I mean, I'm very strong about how you stand. Like many people stand off center, with the weight more to one. Now that totally affects your reality. We don't think so. It's such a simple thing.
Mm.
So one of my th most important things that I've done for myself is learn to stand 50-50. Now it sounds really pathetic, but it was such a big change. And I try and teach couples this, right? Stand 50-50. And eventually I end up like a policewoman, like, what about your legs? But it is life-changing. Softening tensions, relaxing the belly, getting body work, just investing more awareness in the body, not being so mechanical with the body. So, yeah, now, obviously, if I really take some time and play some music and light candles and breathe and so on, that's also excellent. But,
Mm,
it's not kind of separate for me.
mm.
Maybe I could do more of that, sure, but I'm busy having podcasts.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And finally, where can people find you? I know we mentioned your books, but for anyone who's wanting to dive into your content, where's the best place for them to find you, to reach out? And I know you also run retreats and um, you're making love retreats. And I know that for anyone listening to Australia, that there's one in Queensland. So,
Exactly.
if you'd like to speak a bit more about your offerings or where people can
Yes.
find you.
Yes, look, we're very grateful. We have got Janet McGeever in Noosa, who's been leading retreats for a long time. So it's just so nice to have down south, down under, somebody doing these retreats. And, that is obviously like a very direct way to get the teaching because like a contained space, food is provided, and there's time for practice, there's time for theory, explanations, there's time for different body works and so on. So, I can advise any couple, to do that. Um, at the same time, if that's not feasible or possible, read books, right, or audio books. I am actually at the present moment creating a pre-recorded online making love retreat. So this retreat that I designed 30 years ago and have been doing since then, I'm pulling it apart and making it over 9 weeks. And so that's quite exciting. I'm pretty busy with
Mm,
that at the moment. That's also totally valid because then you do it at home and you do little bites every day. It's not like full on, so it's learning more homeopathically. Um, so my website is livinglove.com. And actually now I'm getting really cheeky. I've even got like a newsletter and you can sign up a newsletter. And that will give you information. But on livinglove.com, you'll see all the books, all of the audio books and so on. And it is a matter of informing oneself.
mm,
Even people have just read my books and that helped them a lot.
mm,
You know, um, Sometimes you think, oh, look, my partner, like often women are more curious than men
mm,
because,
mm,
for men, it's a little bit more like, whoops. Um, so if you're a woman and your partner's not so keen, you start to play with yourself, with your own energy. You
mm,
start to relax more during sex.
mm,
If your partner is pushing for orgasm, you don't join him. You relax back, and that will bring the man more here. So there's a lot a woman can do,
mm,
change the quality of her being, her connection to body in lovemaking, but also do breast meditation. I do have a guided breast meditation available as a download. Um, but yeah, so anyone can write to me with pleasure. Sign up for the newsletter or reach me on livinglove.com or info@livinglove.com.
Mm, amazing. And I'll include all your links in the show notes so people can find you with ease.
Oh, sweet, because Instagram, Facebook, wow. It's so funny because I never wanted this stuff, right?
Mm.
So I just feel like I'm coming from the caves. I'm thinking, wow, the fax machine was amazing. Now we've got Instagram. So I have signed up now in order to launch this
Mhm.
online course.
Amazing.
So, wow, my dear, it's been so sweet to talk to you.
You as well. Thank you for sharing all of your knowledge. I found this conversation so interesting, and I'm so grateful for your work that you're doing, your peace worker work that you are rippling out into the collective. Keep on going. It's amazing, and I really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Daniela. You're also a peace worker. We're all peace workers.
Yes, we're
All
in
the
this
best.
together.
Much love.
All right.
Take
Thank
care.
you.